Qui êtes-vous, Omar Sharif?
Je suis un espèce de citoyen du monde je suis un joueur de bridge. J'aime les chevaux de course et je crois que je fais du cinéma seulement en amateur.
Pour moi, Omar, c'est la chemise, la veste et lui-même. C'est tout, il n'y a pas d'autre chose, quoi.
When Omar passed away, I had all his belongings in 2 suitcases.
If you ask most Americans or Europeans to name an Egyptian, they could probably name Cleopatra or Omar Sharif.
I'm not unhappy about them maintaining this myth of the Mediterranean bon vivant, seducer kind of thing. I'd rather have that than poor Omar Sharif stuck in a hotel room. I'd rather have the glamour myth.
They have been able to stick any label they like on him, in any way they like.
Marlon Brando said the real shame about 9/11 is that there'll never be another Omar Sharif. And it's true. I mean, even now I'm working as an actor in Los Angeles, and all the scripts that I get and all the parts that I get offered are either hijacker number 4 or terrorist number 7. Arabs are represented so differently right now.
Omar Sharif represented the Arab world in a way that's barely conceivable today, when images of conflict and cliches dominate the Western media perception of this region. But did Omar Sharif really see himself as an ambassador of his homeland, or was this role forced upon him? Was he really the great seducer that the world saw in him? Who was this man who gave up his birth name, lived in several countries around the world, loved card games perhaps more than the cinema, and spent most of his life in hotel rooms?
I deem him one of the greatest beings alive in our time. We shall never see his like again. His name will live in history. It will live in the annals of war. It will live in the legends of Arabia.
Who is he?
What is your name?
My name is for my friends.
I met Omar when he first came to Los Angeles, and he was a lovely kind of wow. Whether he would have ever come to America had he not been nominated for an Oscar for Lawrence of Arabia, who knows?
This man is coming out of Egypt. He knows nothing about Hollywood.
He was probably shocked to be there. His first trip to Hollywood was really because he was nominated for that role in Lawrence of Arabia for 2 Golden Globes. That's quite the first trip to make somewhere, you know, to really be the toast of a town like Hollywood. Of course, he ended up winning both of those.
Omar admirait tellement le cinéma hollywoodien que quand il a été plongé dedans, il était en admiration devant tout le monde. Il voulait faire partie.
Omar, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I know you're very proud.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
Yes, and I would say at this Golden Globe Awards, you're being the prime #1 actor of Egypt. Is there another actor over there?
Well, there are a few, not very many, but a few, but they never go out. I mean, they have never been seen in international films.
How did you get started with films?
Well, I got started in Egypt. I wanted to be an actor, and I immediately got a very lucky break. I've had lucky breaks all my life, as a matter of fact.
I can't believe it's all luck, but again, thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you.
Omar a changé son nom pour pas faire de peine à ses parents. Pour pas que le nom Chaloub soit dégradé en apparaissant sur des frontons de cinéma. Pour eux, le cinéma, c'était tout de même des saltimbanques. C'était pas des gens bien.
His father was a successful wood merchant, doing very well and so on. He wanted his son, his only son, to join the business.
Il parlait de sa maman qui, quand il était tout petit, en Égypte, qui rentrait de l'école, il la voyait attabler avec le roi Farouk en train de jouer aux cartes. Donc voilà, il parlait d'elle comme ça. Elle était à la maison, elle jouait aux cartes avec le roi Farouk. C'était normal.
Sa famille était très, très, très catholique. Il détestait aller à la confession. Il trouvait ça ridicule, déjà tout petit. Alors il racontait des bêtises et il s'en fichait un peu déjà.
The Egyptian kingdom had been independent since 1922, but it was under the strong influence of the former colonial power, Great Britain. In the 1930s, Alexandria was a melting pot of many cultures.
À l'époque, des juifs, des musulmans, des catholiques, et tout le monde se fréquentait, tout le monde jouait ensemble, et c'était tout à fait naturel. Vers les 12-13 ans, comme beaucoup de petits garçons, il est devenu gros. Et sa mère, qui l'idolâtrait, a dit « C'est pas possible, mon fils, il est moche, il est vilain, c'est pas possible, il faut qu'il maigrisse. Donc, qu'est-ce que je vais faire ?» Et elle a décidé de l'envoyer là où on mangeait mal, d'après elle, et où on faisait du sport. Et c'est comme ça qu'il est rentré au Victoria College.
The British school par excellence in Egypt, he went to boarding school there. The who's who of Egypt was there, and I think he admired the British. Yeah, it formed who he was.
Je pense qu'inconsciemment, Omar avait gardé un peu cela dans son inconscient. J'ai remarqué qu'il aimait bien, quand il était avec des Anglais, il aimait bien porter sa cravate du Victoria College. Il parlait encore plus anglais qu'eux, presque plus avec l'accent de la BBC. Il utilisait des mots que les Anglais courants n'utilisent pas, des vieux mots. Omar voulait être plus anglais que les Anglais à ce moment-là. Il aimait beaucoup les sciences, il aimait beaucoup les mathématiques, et Omar a tellement été passionné par la littérature française qu'il s'est inscrit au club de théâtre.
This is not a normal stage of a normal school. This is the stage of Victoria College, where great actors, directors, and actresses as well came out of this place. For Omar Sharif or for any other graduate of Victoria College, you can use the theater freely. If you have the talent, you can present it.
Il a joué le malade imaginaire pour son école. Tout le monde l'a applaudi parce qu'il paraît qu'il était formidable. Et c'est comme ça que ça s'est déclenché. À la base, c'est l'amour de la littérature française. Et après, les applaudissements.
In those days, Cairo was considered the Hollywood on the Nile. The Egyptian film industry dominated the Arab market. Like many great acting careers, that of Omar Sharif began with a stroke of luck.
My mother started working in cinema when she was 6 or 7. And she became the biggest star in Egypt. She was a sort of Shirley Temple of Egypt.
My grandmother was much more famous when they met. She'd probably made dozens of films. She was the leading lady of the Arabic screens.
Shaheen, Yusuf Shaheen, he discovered Omar Sharif. He gave him a great role with Mrs. Fatim Hamama at the time. And their love story began, and they got married.
La raison pour laquelle Omar s'est converti à l'islam, parce qu'il était hors de question qu'un catholique épouse l'idole de toute la nation.
When he showed up and said, now I'm going to marry a Muslim, I think it must have been an oops moment in the family. This is perhaps,
And from then on, they made multiple films together. She absolutely elevated his career by being in films with him. They were that iconic couple. They were the Brangelina. They were Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. Also divorced, I guess.
Il était très heureux, très reconnu, où il tournait des films importants. Moi, j'ai l'impression que ses plus belles années, c'était sa jeunesse. Si vous voyez les photos de 2-3, Faten et lui et Tarek, là, ils ont vraiment l'air heureux.
I traveled all the time. I live in hotel rooms and I eat in restaurants because I live alone. For now, since 1966, I've lived alone. See, that's a long time. I was 34 then, so I wasn't so old. And I lived alone for all the rest of my life from 1966 till now.
hotel life is a good life if you're a bachelor, because it was convenient and because anyway he was working and traveling 9 months a year, so.
He had closer relationships with the staff at hotels, with the concierge, with the bartenders, people that he knew for years, knew the names of their children.
In a hotel, you're never alone.
Now, a gathering of international stars unfolds the story. Alec Guinness as Prince Faisal, Anthony Quinn as Auda Abu Taihi, and Peter O'Toole as Lawrence.
David Lean had difficulty casting the Sharif Ali role. They were out in the desert already, and they were ready to shoot.
David Lean had hired a French actor to do Omar's role of Sharif Ali. And apparently the first day of the shoot, David's looking down the camera and he says, Peter O'Toole has blue eyes. This French gentleman who was paid out his contract or whatever, has green eyes. I don't have a contrast. I want a contrast. Send me pictures of English-speaking Arab actors. And out of the pictures he got, 5 or 6, there was Omar's picture. And Omar arrived, and David looked at him, said, yeah, okay, let's grow a mustache.
Le tournage a duré des mois et des mois et des mois. C'était comme un camp de vacances. Il se retrouvait le soir et il avait la chance de pouvoir parler avec les plus grands. Il écoutait toutes les histoires d'acteurs qu'il admirait quand il était jeune, parce qu'Omar connaissait parfaitement le cinéma hollywoodien.
Lawrence of Arabia won 7 Academy Awards and turned 30-year-old Omar Sharif into an international star.
Il m'avait raconté que David Lean, après Lawrence d'Arabie, il lui avait dit « Maintenant, on va te proposer que des rôles d'arabe. Alors je vais te donner de l'argent en avance. Et tu dis non, tu refuses tous les rôles d'arabe qu'on te propose. »
Omar pushed the boundaries.
Bastard. He murdered my brother and hundreds of other decent Cubans.
And Omar Sharif is Che.
He was a token in Hollywood. At a time of no diversity, he played every other. Didn't have to be an Arab. It could be a Russian, it could be a Mongolian, it could be a Cuban. He just looked different, so he could be another. He could be exotic.
Omar Sharif as Major Grau, the perfect hunter. Finding a killer became an obsession, and even death could not deter him.
Just what do you think you're doing? My job.
Night of the Generals, he sold you on the fact that he was in the German army. You know, there was no doubt about that. So he could deliver.
Now, from the most widely acclaimed novel of our generation, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer presents David Lean's film of Boris Pasternak's Dr. Zhivago.
Omar was incredulous initially that David was offering him Zhivago. He's a Russian doctor. I'm an Egyptian actor. He says, yeah, he says, you're an actor.
You are the one person who can do nothing best. I don't want you to act. I want you to be here and to be like the blotting paper. Everything's happening to you. And your reaction must be minimal. And this is true of Omar. They have been able to stick any label they like on him.
A man of peace, forced into war. A man who loved deeply, tenderly, passionately. Zhivago, a man in love with life. This is Dr. Zhivago, winner of 6 Academy Awards.
Coming from Cairo, Egypt, and to make it in the world, etc., you need to have tremendous drive and ambition. And I did.
Il a sacrifié Faten et sa vie de famille. Tarek était élevé dans un collège anglais. Il le voyait que pour certaines vacances.
We stopped seeing each other. I mean, I was working in Hollywood, in England, and other countries, and she was in Egypt. And it cost me my marriage. It cost me probably all my private life was ruined by it.
He didn't feel, I don't think, that he was able to give her everything she needed or stay faithful while he was a big international star traveling abroad. And I think he did worry about that when he was just coming into his prime in Hollywood. And that's about the time they got divorced. I really do think that he divorced her because he loved her that much.
He said always, I did
the perfect decision, respecting her.
Total bullshit. If you believe that, I've got land to sell to you in Florida. Give me a break. He went to, look, normal man, 30 years old, goes off to Hollywood for the first time. God knows how many thousands of starlets, beautiful women approach him. Yeah, he's, you know, he's gonna go for it. And
The tension in the Middle East over the Gulf of Aqaba blockade develops into full-scale war, with reports of heavy fighting between Israeli and Egyptian forces along the Gaza Strip and the Sinai border.
Hello, gorgeous.
Columbia Pictures is proud to present Barbra Streisand.
Yeah? You're going to be a big star someday, Miss...
Bryce, Fanny Bryce.
In her Academy Award-winning film debut.
You planning to make advances?
He was an odd choice to play that role. At the end of the day, Nick Yarnstein is a Jew from Brooklyn, and the role went to a Muslim actor during the Six-Day War.
Israeli forces drive spearheads across the Sinai Peninsula, west to the Suez Canal, south to the entrance of the Gulf of Aqaba, breaking the blockade, capturing the west bank of the Jordan River, and occupying the old city of Jerusalem.
Barbra Streisand, Omar Sharif.
Why don't we get married?
Funny Girl.
He was having an affair with her, and a photo of them kissing on set made it back into the press in Egypt.
Il y a une photo de leur profil avec le croissant sur la joue d'Omar et l'étoile de David sur la joue de Barbra Streisand. Ça a fait un scandale dans tous les pays arabes.
They accused him of conspiring with Israel and of being an Israeli spy.
But Omar did say the best statement. He said, when I kiss a lady, I never ask her about her religion or nationality.
Omar Sharif's complex relationship with Egypt didn't begin with Funny Girl and the humiliation of the young republic in the Six-Day War. After his Hollywood breakthrough, Sharif didn't return to his home country for more than 10 years. Egypt under Gamal Abdel Nasser was under the influence of the Soviet Union. Entering and exiting the country became complicated, and socialism had a deep impact on the lives of the wealthy. Omar Sharif's parents, too, were expropriated.
Sa famille s'est retrouvée plus ou moins ruinée, et donc c'est là qu'il les a fait partir du Caire et se sont installés à Madrid. Mais Omar est resté toujours profondément égyptien. Il n'a jamais voulu prendre aucune autre nationalité, alors que tout le monde aurait... Même il aurait pu prendre la nationalité monégasque, à mon avis. Il n'a jamais voulu changer son passeport. Ça a toujours été un passeport égyptien. On l'a toujours présenté comme un grand séducteur, grand Don Juan, etc. Mais Omar, en tant qu'acteur et en tant qu'homme, ne se regardait jamais dans un miroir. Jamais. Alors, peut-être qu'il était plus prétentieux de son intelligence que de sa beauté, si vous voulez, que de son charme, etc. Il était très conscient, peut-être même un peu trop, de son intelligence.
He had a photographic memory for everything, from cards to scripts to poetry. He would always challenge himself and, he'd finish the crossword puzzles, the most difficult ones, within 10 or 15 minutes.
Je pense qu'il a appris à jouer au bridge parce que c'est ce qui correspondait le mieux à son esprit mathématique et à sa mémoire. Il a commencé le bridge, c'est pour meubler les attentes entre chaque prise de vue. Et malheureusement, après, c'est devenu une passion. Et c'est vrai que ça a dû peut-être un peu nuire aussi à sa réputation d'acteur.
faut des qualités d'analyse et aussi de psychologie. Il avait des sautes de concentration, parfois. Mais enfin, c'était globalement un top player, oui. Vraiment. Tout le monde avait un grand plaisir à jouer avec lui. Il a fait de très jolis coups.
Je pense très sincèrement qu'entre une soirée dans un tournoi de bridge et un dîner avec une dame, je pense qu'il aurait toujours choisi la partie de bridge. Peut-être qu'on lui reprochait son côté dilettante, qu'il s'est forgé lui-même sans s'en rendre compte, c'est-à-dire le fait qu'il aime autant jouer au bridge et que donc il refuse quelquefois des films pour pouvoir participer à un tournoi de bridge. Peut-être que ça, on ne lui a pas pardonné.
You could kind of see on the horizon that the business was changing. You had more realistic kinds of actors becoming movie stars. Jack Nicholson, Peter Fonda, Elliot Gould, more naturalistic, everyman kind of actors and performers.
Omar got offers, I believe, in the 70s from Hollywood, but you know, the very first time you're offered a role and you're asked not to play the hero, but the hero's uncle or father or whatever, you're suddenly thinking, what? Very hard to accept.
Je pense que Omar a été déçu de voir que à Hollywood, si ton film n'est pas en tête d'affiche, tu es aussitôt relégué à une place secondaire. Ça ne lui plaisait pas qu'à Hollywood, en fin de compte, que les gens soient aimables avec lui ou qu'il ait la meilleure table au restaurant dépendent des entrées qu'il pouvait faire au cinéma. Peut-être qu'il imaginait effectivement que le cinéma hollywoodien est une grande famille, et c'était absolument pas ça.
La porte va s'ouvrir. 6e étage.
Non, il y a une chance que tu y arrives. Après, tu peux toujours essayer, mais là, tu vas essayer. Il y a une chance. Bien sûr. Oui. C'est ici. Oui. C'est là qui rentre. Je préfère. C'est une belle chambre vue mer, depuis le 6e étage, avec cette vue fantastique, hein, comme vous pouvez le voir. En été, les chevaux se promènent sur la plage, le matin et le soir. Il y a effectivement d'autres chambres qui peuvent être plus grandes ou des suites, mais M. Sharif, c'était sa chambre. C'est la chambre qu'il a toujours aimée. Et je crois depuis la première fois, il n'a jamais souhaité changer de chambre.
Donc il y a vraiment...
Son esprit. Son esprit sera éternellement dans cette chambre. Éternellement.
Ça nous rappelle les souvenirs le matin. On va aller chercher, porter son sac de journaux.
He could have lived easily in Los Angeles, just as easily, but he chose living in France, where it's less about that star and Hollywood culture, and it's more about living.
je suis arrivé en 84, donc M. Sharif venait déjà à l'hôtel. Et il est venu jusqu'en 2014, donc il est venu pendant au moins une trentaine d'années. C'était facile pour nous, justement, de savoir, pouvoir le chercher quand on avait besoin de voir, parce qu'on savait à peu près une demi-heure près quand est-ce qu'il allait descendre de sa chambre, quand est-ce qu'il allait rentrer, et quand est-ce qu'il... Il était très rituelite sur sa façon de faire.
On a passé des nuitées ensemble au casino. Moi, je jouais moins cher, à des tables moins onéreuses que les siennes, à des tarifs plus modestes.
Le gambling, le jouer au casino, c'était presque suicidaire. C'était un vrai joueur, dans le sens où ça ne l'amusait pas de gagner, c'est-à-dire, moi, si je joue au casino, si je gagne beaucoup d'argent, je le prends. Lui, quand il gagnait beaucoup d'argent, il allait jusqu'au bout, il reperdait tout.
I think what I was looking for was an outlet, something that would give me a strong, concentrated emotion, excitement, which I didn't have in my life.
C'était un homme qui était d'une très grande générosité. Il aimait, comme un prince arabe, avoir beaucoup de monde à sa table. C'est lui qui choisissait le menu. Si tu aimais pas la chose, bah tant pis. Et puis les dîners, ils étaient aussi compartimentés. C'était le dîner cheval, le dîner bridge, le dîner des amis. Et moi j'allais à tous ces dîners. Je m'y ennuyais parfois beaucoup, mais parce que je ne parle pas cheval et je ne parle pas bridge.
He lived an extravagant lifestyle for someone who didn't have much. He would buy racehorses. They would lose. At one stage, he had 40 racehorses that died all of a sudden from an illness in a stable. It's bankruptcy for most. All his life, he would go to a casino, lose every penny he had in the bank. Every penny, nothing left. He's walking out. If he got an electricity bill at home, he'd get home, the phone would ring, it would be a movie that covered all the days. Yeah, he made a lot of bad films, but he made a lot of bad films because he at that stage, it didn't matter really what the film was, it mattered how much he was being paid for it. And regrettably, as with most business, the worse the movie is, the more they're willing to pay you because they need you.
Tom Burton must wage a desperate fight for freedom. Rutger Hauer, Carol Alt, Omar Sharif in a powerful tale of passion, intrigue, and betrayal. Beyond Justice.
Some of those films were awful, and I used to make fun of him about them, and he used to do interviews and say, all I make is garbage movies, and my grandson just makes fun of me nonstop. I felt a little bad about that, but he came to see me for the first time. I was a few months old. He was doing a play in London, and he flew to Montreal, where I was born, in the middle of winter to see me. I was his first grandchild. And there are photos from the moment he saw me. The cameras were going, and you just saw the love in his eyes. And he just grabbed me, hugged me, and kissed me as a child. I don't even think he knew how to hold children at the time. He wasn't very close to my father as a young child. My father was always at boarding school and away at school. And so he wasn't really that close or affectionate with him.
The relationship isn't so much. At the beginning, perhaps it's father and son, before I can remember. But then it's one of friendship. I mean, my father was perhaps one of my best friends. It's rare to say, you know, we used to go in Berlin, in West Berlin, or West Berlin. At the time we went, we used to go, you know, let's go find young ladies to have dinner with, whatever, together. You know, it wasn't so. That's not the usual father-son relationship, you know, where you go.
Tout l'argent qu'il a gagné a été perdu, soit en mauvaises affaires, soit sur les casinos. Donc, quand il est mort, c'était son fils qui l'entretenait depuis des années. Parce qu'il n'avait plus d'argent du tout, du tout, du tout.
His backbone. Tariq was his backbone. He always leaned on Tariq. He wouldn't do anything without calling Tariq and telling him, I'll do this and that.
Once he got into a major shindig, a bit of a fight with a casino guy. They called me. They said, there's a problem. Come quick. He's been arrested. And I went to get my father. I said, look, I accept that I have to fly from one country to another to get my 19-year-old idiot son out of jail because he wanted. But I don't expect to fly to get my 75-year-old idiot father out of jail. Guys, give me a break.
Je m'en fous, c'est un arabe. C'est un arabe, c'est un arabe. Et si c'était pas un arabe, ce serait pareil.
Je ne suis pas arabe, maman. Je viens du Croissant d'Or.
J'étais assez jeune, j'avais 14 ans quand j'ai passé le casting. J'avais jamais entendu parler de lui. Je crois que j'avais dû l'apercevoir quand il présentait les jeux et les courses épiques. Il était connu pour ça, le tiercé quinté plus. Et voilà, c'est tout ce que m'évoquait Omar, quoi. La seule image de lui, pour moi, c'était le vieux monsieur qui présentait les courses de chevaux à la télé l'après-midi à 13h30, quoi.
I had sort of hung up my hat, you know. I hadn't made a film for 5 years when I made this film, because in the last 25 to 30 years I had made very bad films, and I said I won't work unless something that makes me enthusiastic comes along.
He got the script, he read it, or he said he read it, I'm not sure he did. And he said, everyone's telling me this is fabulous, here, take it. It's a 45-minute read. Read it, got up, went to him, said, you're doing this movie. He said, but they have no money, they're offering nothing. I said, no, you pay to do this movie. You accept whatever.
Je m'appelle pas Momo.
Je sais que tu t'appelles Moïse. C'est bien pour ça que je t'appelle Momo. C'est moins impressionnant.
Qu'est-ce que ça peut vous faire, je m'appelle Moïse? Moïse, c'est juif, c'est pas arabe.
Je ne suis pas arabe, Momo. Je suis musulman. 5,80.
Pourquoi mon père, il va chez l'arabe, si vous êtes pas arabe?
Arabe, Momo, ça veut dire ouvert de 8h du matin jusqu'à minuit. Et même le dimanche dans l'épicerie.
C'était assez étonnant la manière dont ce personnage collait avec, je pense, une partie vraiment pas cachée, mais une partie retranchée de son être profond, quoi. Monsieur Ibrahim, c'est ce qu'il incarne dans le film, c'est cette espèce de figure de la tolérance absolue qui va adopter un petit garçon juif. Et du coup, voilà, j'ai l'impression que ce rôle a pu au-delà de lui faire repartir sa carrière, ça lui a permis, je pense, d'exprimer un point de grâce auquel il était arrivé à son grand âge et que personne ne lui avait donné la possibilité de montrer, quoi.
Actually, this film needn't have had a Muslim and a Jew in it. But if there were peace in the world, but the fact that there is not peace in the world makes it relevant. That's why I think it's useful for me, who is a person from the Middle East and who is respected and loved there, to make that statement, which will not influence anybody. I'm sure no one will change their minds. But I think I had to say it anyway.
Quand il a eu le César pour Monsieur Ibrahim, il était très content. Moi, je m'en souviens.
I remember saying to him, now that was a good one. And he knew it.
He loved the French. He loved living in Paris. He loved everything about Paris. All his life was getting tourist visas to be in France. And the French government was accepting money for the tourist visa. Say, yeah, you're a tourist. Never had social insurance, never had anything, any of the, whenever he had to do an operation, well, he did it in France. He paid. He never. So, you know, he was a French export. He'd earn abroad and bring the money back to France. They're the ones who went after him. And he said, that's it, I'll go back to Egypt. No, and he came back for a but. I told him, you've lived all your life in Europe, forget it. And you have no idea. I'm Egyptian. You are the one who was brought up abroad. You have no idea what being Egyptian is. I'm Egyptian. It's in my blood. In all fairness, he was the, apart from Cleopatra and Sadat, most famous Egyptian. You know, bro. So in a way, they're proud, very proud of him here. On the other hand, they didn't give him any peace. They were always after him for something or other or whatever, you know. Come and do this, come and do that, come and do the other.
The Hotel Semiramis became Omar Sharif's main residence in Egypt. His suite was on the 18th floor. From his balcony, he unexpectedly witnessed another revolution in Egypt. The revolution on Tahrir Square.
Il a été un des premiers parce que, en fin de compte, comme il y avait tous les médias internationaux, le seul qui pouvait parler toutes les langues pratiquement et être connu des télévisions internationales, c'était lui. Donc tout le monde s'est précipité sur lui.
The people are always right, in my opinion, I guess. I'm not a political man. I like to watch sports, not the news. But I think that I find our young people very courageous. They're wonderful people. I am very proud of my Egyptian young people.
Ses réactions, c'était toujours humanistes. C'est-à-dire, il ne voulait pas des extrémistes, ni d'un côté ni de l'autre, quand a eu lieu la révolution. Il était du haut de son balcon et il leur disait bonjour aux manifestants, parce qu'il comprenait aussi les manifestants.
ما اعرفش حسب ما هم عايزين. هم دلوقتي عايزين حاجة واحدة، عايزين ان الرئيس يمشي من المركز بتاعه. دي اول حاجة. بعد كده مش عارفين، انا شخصيا مش عارف هيعملوا ايه بعد كده.
I think he was hopeful at that time. I think he believed in the people and the power of the people to define their own destiny. And I think he was very discouraged later when the Muslim Brotherhood came to power. I think he worried that they weren't going to be tolerant and that they weren't going to be representative of all Egyptians. I wrote an op-ed piece, and it went viral very quickly. And I was sort of questioning their commitment to human rights and diversity in Egypt. Not because I worried necessarily about LGBT people, but more because I worried about the role of women in society and about religious minorities and how they would fare under an Islamic regime. You know, that's because of everything he taught me, to care about religious minorities and how we treat other people. He found out that I was gay at the same time as everyone else because I wrote that article and because of the reaction to it, which was so negative. I received a lot of threats of violence and death threats, and I haven't been back. And the first thing he did was he came to my defense, which is really amazing because I didn't know what to expect. And he was one of the first people, and maybe the only people in Egypt that did that.
Omar Sharif spent the last years of his life alternately living in Egypt and Europe. As at the beginning of his career, he again acted in Egyptian films. He also still got roles in France.
Quand j'ai proposé le rôle de mon film à Omar Sharif, il m'a dit « J'ai lu ton scénario, raconte-moi encore l'histoire ». Quand je lui ai dit que ce vieux monsieur avait Alzheimer et qu'il allait finir sa vie et choisir lui-même comment il allait finir sa vie, il avait une larme à l'œil, il fait « C'est très joli ton histoire, je vais le faire ton film ». Ce qui m'a étonné, c'est qu'il m'a toujours posé beaucoup de questions et il avait vraiment, vraiment très, très envie de faire ce film-là. Je ne sais pas vraiment pourquoi, peut-être pour ses raisons à lui, mais il a toujours été bienveillant pour ça, pour le film.
J'ai pas pu le revoir, le film, parce que c'est terrible. Parce que à ce moment-là, c'était pas... Non, ça allait bien, il a pu apprendre son rôle très bien. Non, c'est pour vraiment les 2 dernières années où ça a été de plus en plus catastrophique.
You saw it. Stories would start to repeat at the dinner table. And instead of hearing them nightly, all of a sudden I was hearing them 2 or 3 times a night. He wouldn't remember the story that he told the night before. Sometimes when his memory was lagging a little bit, it would cause him to get anxious and a little aggressive or assertive. These were all telltale signs that we all just chose to ignore.
It can't be cured, but it can be treated in a way but you have to accept. To do exercises, to do whatever, mental exercises, take certain medications on which Omar never accepted. He was told, he never accepted. He said, I'm much more intelligent than you. You know, so that's the end of it, when you refuse the treatment.
Et tout d'un coup, il n'a plus été joué au bridge. Il a accepté de jouer les derniers matchs au tournoi à Deauville avec des dames pour leur faire plaisir. Et là, c'était moins des compétitions.
Perhaps the only good thing you can say about it is that when this humiliation is occurring, you're not aware of it. You don't know. Everyone else does, but you don't. So When Omar passed away, basically I had all his belongings in 2 suitcases.